one of the things I'm hearing is that after an awakening or enlightenment, there can be the facing of the downloading of a lot of unconscious material.
Yeah.
And during the Kundalini process, that's the same thing, that it's just happening without enlightenment,
Yeah.
this downloading of unconscious material. And I'm wondering if you have advice or an approach for the optimal way to deal with this downloading process.
Well, the simplest thing is, one of the approaches is the download is that I like to say, get out of the way. Don't try to control it. Don't try to manipulate it. Know that it's totally natural. It may not feel natural. It may feel really unnatural. It may feel very, very foreign. But if you've been down the road, if you've helped others down the road, you know that all this downloading is very, very natural. That the regurgitating of unconsciousness and the regurgitating of fixed points of view and fears and traumas and contractions and all the rest that may arise is very natural. It's a very natural part of the process. There's times when it can make you feel very disoriented. That's part of the process. And so a lot of it is I like to provide a context where the mind can sort of relax, so it knows it may seem really strange to you, but it's not strange to me. And to sort of let go and trust the process. Don't try to control it. Don't try to manipulate it. It knows what it's doing if you would simply allow it to do it. And just stay in the deepest sense of integrity that you can be aware of at any given moment.
So in a way, it's more of an observer role than a reliving the experience kind of role or position. It's an observer role, but with this caution is one. I'm not saying that one sort of assumes the position of the observer, because the observer is a position. It's not the truth. It's a position. I would say if we have had a spiritual awakening, in one sense, this isn't the complete sense, but in one sense, we become the observing. We know we are the observing. We are not the observer, because there isn't an observer. We are the observing, or the awarenessing, or the consciousnessing. And yet the observing, or the awareing, does never take a stance. Really, it's the mind that takes the stance of an observer separate from what's observing and having a distance. But the true observing, or the true awarenessing, has no distance. It has no stance as an observer. It's witnessing from within and without simultaneously. It's the perfume that's in and outside of every experience. So when something arises, that the observing, the presence of the observing is right there, and the trick is to simply not go unconscious. When something arises, our tendency is to go into reaction, even if subtly, and every reaction is actually, a reaction by its very definition is a state of unconsciousness. So if we can allow what arises to arise and remain totally conscious, observing, I like to say observing, experiencing, all one word. So observing, experiencing is actually one phenomena. It's one event. And if we can stay totally conscious, totally observing while we're experiencing, that's the key. That's the sacred spiritual alchemy that takes place. If you can maintain the observing in the midst of experiencing and not back away from either one, then any distortion, any contraction, contradiction, etc., resolves itself in the process of simply being able to let it unfold and remaining totally and absolutely present for it. When you can do that, you find that there's nothing in heaven or earth that can sustain itself.